So I really want to make sure that we cover the different major tie-ups. And what defines major tie-up? Well, that's being able to lock your hands together. There are minor tie-ups. So for an example, an underhook, a collar tie, a cross tie, an overhook, a wrist control, bicep tie. These are all minor tie-ups. But there are 8 major tie-up positions. So I'm going to cover those really quick, and then we're going to go over one in specific. So the 8 major tie-up positions are going to be hands locked underneath the butt, so double leg, controlling both legs, single leg, hip control, which most of the time, and we're going to go over this today, is I grab the wrist and the hip, but I can always lock my hands together to make it a full connection. So those are our lower body tie-ups. And then our upper body tie-ups are going to be an over-under, a double under, and then a head arm control, which is an underhook collar tie. I don't want to grab over here. I want my forearm across the collarbone, right? And then there's 2 more, which are going to be the closed hip lock from behind, and then the last one is going to be a front headlock. Okay, so those are 8 major tie-up positions. But the one I want to cover with you guys today is going to be the hip control. Okay, this is an underused position. I highly recommend learning it because it's very safe, and there's a ton of takedowns and different ways to beat the guy up from the position. There's really 2 ways to get into it. It's very hard to get hip control off the get. So you're usually going to use one of the other major tie-up positions or minor tie-up positions to bring yourself to the hip control position. So one of them is a single leg. I can pull him off the wall, he'll blade his hips, and I use my fingers on the inside of his hip. It's a nice little handle there. It's very difficult for him to yank his hand or your hand away from there if you get it the right way. I also get it from an underhook. So I'm in an underhook position. I can pull him off the wall, he blades his hips, and I grab a hold of the hip. Once we get there, I'm generally going to grab a hold of the wrist and push it down to his thigh. I'm looking for one thing, and that is if he's whizzering or not. Now, right now, he isn't. So I have a couple of options from here. When he doesn't whizzer, I can just take the back and go into the hip lock. If I want to go to a takedown, there's 2 different takedowns that I recommend from this position if he does not have a whizzer. One is a knee block. So I have this position, he doesn't have a whizzer. I'm gonna run him this way, but I'm not gonna let him step forward with this foot. Well, I am just a little bit, but I don't want it to pass this foot. So when I run him down, block it, and I can go to a head ride. Okay, Dan Henderson special. And then the other one is scooping up for the double leg. So I'm here like this. He doesn't have the whizzer, so I'm gonna shuck him forward, and as he turns into me, I scoop both legs, pin, elevate the inside leg, and shelf it, and control from there. So what if he does have the whizzer? Okay, there's a handful of different things we can do from the position. So one of them is, especially if he has both his feet up against the wall, I'm gonna go into some striking from here. So I get okay, near the hip. Now, side note, don't get behind a guy from here. He can whizzer kick or uchimata or hit a harai goshi. So I'm very vulnerable if I'm behind him from here. So just shuffle your feet so you're square to the wall. He has a whizzer here, and both of his feet are close to the wall. Now, if either one of his feet are off the wall, it gives me a target to attack. So I have really 4 different foot sweeps from here, 5 if you consider it the Dayashi, and then you could actually say 6 if you wanted to use this as a Side Komiyashi. But if he has one of his feet off the wall, so bring this foot off the wall, and my hip's on the inside, I can hit the Ochigari or inside trip. If my hip's on the outside of his hip, I can hit the Kosodo Gari and sit him down. And there's a series that I can work with you guys on later off the Kosodo. If this foot's up against the wall and this foot's off the wall, I can hit the coach, right? Or if I can get him up on his toes where his heels are off the mat, so don't re-step. If I get his heel up off the mat, I can step in to the Osotogari and take him down. But if his feet are against the wall, now I'm gonna throw knees to this side. What happens here is he likes to protect and bring his leg up. Very, very common. So I'm gonna do this spinning takedown. So I throw some knees, he brings his foot up. Now I'm gonna step in, so I'm stepping right behind his foot, locking his leg into place. I'll bring my other foot about 12 inches or so from my other foot, so shoulder width apart or less. You don't want this wide stance because you'll fall to your hip and it gives him the opportunity to stay up on top of you. I'd rather have this in, and then when I spin, you spin to my knees and step over to this PR position and then fight from there, okay? Another thing that's really, really common from this position is he starts to lean over. If he's leaning over, immediately I'm gonna go into this head ride position and fight from here, chest to chest. I want his back flat to the wall, and I want to control using my forearm, not my hand. Although there is some nuance to this position, I can use my hand and lock it under his far shoulder. I can take my fist and stick it to the wall, and especially if I have MMA gloves on and a cage, it makes it very difficult for him to posture from this position. And then I have a whole system and a game plan to deal with the position from there. So we have other alternatives and options, but we're going to cover that on another day. So that's it for today.